Hello and welcome everyone. Good morning to our Exploring by the Sea of Pants hangout. My name is Jeremy. I'm going to be your host for today, and we are very, very thrilled to be visiting the Ripley's Aquarium in Toronto today. We're joined by Danielle and possibly Andrew a little bit later on at the large stingray exhibit at Ripley's. And we've got an awesome group of classrooms, 7 classrooms from all across North America joining us today. Mics are muted here, so I'm not going to get making noise right now. But at the end, we'll save it. We'll get nice and loud and get it. I'm just going to introduce very quickly Mr. Endo's class, grade 3s from golf. Miss Furnival's grade 2s from golf as well. Miss Dockman, grade 1 from Bowdenville. Miss Reed, grade 4 from Navington. You guys can just wave as I say your names, even though your mics are off. Mr. Bartnick, grade 5s from Oklahoma. And Miss Novak's grade 1s from Fishers, Indiana. And last but not least, Miss Wallach's grade 2s from Virginia. We have a great breadth of classes joining us from all over the country. And of course, we're joined by Danielle at Ripley's. Without further ado, I'm going to give the floor to her and take it away, Danielle.
Oh, hello everyone. So I'm here with the stingrays, although you don't really see the stingrays right now. There's no food up here, so they're still waking up. But once Andrew comes, there will be lots and lots of food. Oh, there's Andrew getting ready to go in the water. Andrew, can you give us a wave? Perfect. So Andrew has that pipe in his hand, and that pipe is actually going to attract the stingrays toward him. It's just a regular pipe, but the stingrays have been trained to come and touch their nose to the pipe, and then they'll get a food reward. As you notice when Andrew stepped in the water, all the tiny little fish swam away. They're showing a wonderful technique called schooling, and they're really afraid of everything. They're a type of fish called a look down. And they were recently introduced into this exhibit, and they're afraid of everything, and it's really fun to watch them school. So here's a cow nose ray, not the intended one that's supposed to be fed right now, but they are the little pigs of the exhibit, so they will come around all the time in order to try to get some food. But Andrew's trying to feed the beautiful spotted eagle rays, and they'll come up soon. They are pretty large compared to the cow nose rays, but they do have the same shape. They're kind of a bluish gray color with white polka dots on their bodies. And ours are pretty young. The oldest one we think is around 6-7 years old, and the youngest one we actually know his age, and he's around 4.5. But they're pretty young for spotted eagle rays. We don't really know how old they can get, but they can get quite a bit older because only one of ours is able to have babies right now. We do have 3. We have a girl, and we have 2 boys, and the girl is the biggest of the 3, and she is around 50 to 60 pounds. So she's a little bit heavier than the other ones, and the littlest one is between 20 and 30 pounds, so he's pretty small. They can grow up to 3 meters across and 9 meters from the nose to the end of their tail. So they're actually really large animals in their natural habitat. One of the coolest things I find about them is their polka dots. So not only does that make them unique, it also means that each individual has different polka dots. So that's how we can tell them apart. We usually tell them apart here by their size, but if you're in the wild and you see a spotted eagle ray, you can actually take a picture and send it to a database, and they can ID each and every spotted eagle ray in the world using a special digital program, which I think is really cool. They don't seem to be coming up yet, so I'm going to get Andrew to show me some of the food. Hey Andrew, what do you have for food?
So for food, we have some bonito.
Oh, bonito.
Kind of like a tuna fish.
It's like a tuna, so that's the reddish colored one.
We've got some squid here with their long arms and tentacles.
And a little squid.
And this is actually something only the eagle rays get in this tank. It's some live clam, which is really important for them because of their dental plates. You want to explain that a bit more?
So they have, they're the only animal here that gets live clam. So we keep that in our refrigerator in the back, and it's really good for their dental plates. So these animals have really, really strong teeth, and we need to make sure that we're giving them the right food to make sure they're happy and make sure they're healthy as well. And they crush it between their jaws. Anyway, a spotted eagle ray is just coming up right now. You can see this one looks quite a bit different than the rest. Beautiful animal. This is the only girl, so she's the biggest of the three. And as you can see, there's another stingray competing for the food, but only one of them is trying to eat right now. So that's our spotted eagle ray, the female. And Andrew is clearly in the splash zone. But as you can see, she'll come straight up and touch the pipe. Although the cow-nosed rays, some of them have figured it out, they don't get food now. So he's not going to give them food. We don't want to reward poor behavior. It's good that the spotted eagle rays come up. This is their feeding time. They should come up, touch the pipe, get some food. And then they'll usually come up more and more whenever we have the pipe in the water and some food, which makes it really easy for us to trim their barbs. For the female, we can do some, ultrasound on her if she happens to become pregnant at some point, which we would love to happen, but we're a little too young for that. And they actually are way more comfortable with being handled. And they're very intelligent animals, so it is really good that they are in this sort of training. And hopefully she's going to come back for some more, but there are two other spotted eagle rays that will come up at some point.
I'm working right now on getting her to stay on target as well as touch the target.
Okay, Andrew just told me they're working on getting her to stay on target as well as touching the target. So you can see she's holding her position there, which is actually really good for us for doing checkups on them. Our cow-nosed rays actually get fed at the surface here, but only after our shows. So their first feeding is around noon. So it will be a while before they're supposed to eat, but they don't seem to know that yet. That's just why they keep coming around to Andrew to see if they can get some food out of him. But Andrew's really strong, and he's not going to try to give them any food. So this is our littlest stingray of the spotted eagle rays. He's the one that's between 20 and 30 pounds. And he is the only one of the three that was actually born at an aquarium. The other two are from the wild. So this spotted eagle ray was born at one of our other aquariums. And he was adorable when he was born. So he's 4.5. Spotted eagle rays are very smart, and eagle rays are one of the few animals that can actually recognize themselves in a mirror. So I know all of you can do that, and you probably have heard that not so many cats can do that, but manta rays, the really, really big stingray, I'm going to turn you around to a painting which is on the wall. That's a manta ray. They're really big, and manta rays can recognize themselves in a mirror, and I'm pretty sure the spotted eagle rays can too, as they take to their training and all of the other animals' training really quickly. And there's a stingray jumping over there. That's our rough-tailed stingray. He jumps a lot. And this is the bigger of the two males. So we've had all three come up. You might wonder how I can tell them apart so easily, and that's because of their size. They are all very different sizes, and the bigger of the two males actually has very light dots on his body, so he's really easy to tell apart from the smaller male. Now, other than those two types that you see all of the time, we have our jumping stinger over there, which is our rough-tailed stingray. Fun fact, spotted eagle rays can also jump out of the water, but they can soar. That's what their face is used for. That's why it's such a weird shape. They can actually jump about 6 feet in the air, which is a really amazing height, taller than I am. And we have one other type of stingray, which is probably still at the bottom taking their sweet time, noticing that there's food, because they get fed at our first dive show, and those are the southern stingrays. So they're at the bottom. They're really big, dark-bodied. If they ever come up, I will point them out. They may not. But our wonderful spotted eagle rays know it's feeding time now. Same with the cow-nosed rays, know there's food in the water, so they're going to come up all the time. But he's only going to be feeding the spotted eagle rays. Now, spotted eagle rays right now are all considered in the same species group. He's doing such a good job holding onto that pipe. So all the spotted eagle rays are all considered in the same species group right now. And that made sense initially, but based on genetics, they might actually be considered 3 or 4 different species groups. And if they are, that means they're actually closer to the endangered side of the endangered species list than in the near threatened side. So if that is the case, we need to really start taking action toward protecting this animal in their natural habitat. And learning about them is one of the biggest things that we can do. So it's really lucky that we have 3 here, and one of them was from a breeding pair at a different aquarium, and hopefully we will have more babies of this type of stingray. But we're not sure what's going to happen yet because they are still very young. But we're all hoping for the best for the future. The easiest thing for you to do is to make sure that you practice sustainable eating, and that might be a really big word, but you just figure out which food that you can get from grocery stores or from restaurants that was caught in a way that doesn't damage the environment, doesn't damage how many animals are in that habitat, and also make sure that the animals that you're taking out of the habitat are actually ones that we can take out and they'll replenish themselves. So we don't want to take out too many because there are lots of people, a lot of people do eat fish, and stingrays actually get accidentally caught in fishing nets all the time. And that's awful for them. We wouldn't want them to get caught in fishing nets. We'd like them to survive and be amazing animals that eat shrimp and squid, dig under the sand and soar through the air if they need to. They're really beautiful animals. So naturally in the wild, spotted eagle rays will dig through the sand to find their food. So their snout is actually more like a shovel and will dig through the sand to get their food out. And they eat pretty much anything they can find that is made of seafood. So they'll eat snails and shrimp and squid and little fish. But here they get pampered because we feed them restaurant quality food that they don't have to hunt for. So we hand feed all of our stingrays. Andrew here's, I know he's been bit by stingrays before, but he's got all his fingers. They have flat plates that are meant for crushing, so they're not actually going to do any damage to Andrew. They just give him a little love nip every so often because he is hand feeding them. It's hard to avoid that, especially if you hand feed a dog, you know that would happen. But they're not out to get us. Stingrays get a bad rap because they do have that barb on their tail. All of ours are trimmed down for the safety of our divers, anybody visiting to go in the water, anybody visiting to touch the animals. But stingrays don't like using their barb. It takes about 4 to 6 months to grow back fully, and nobody ever wants to wait that long to have a defense mechanism grow back. It is venomous, it is sharp and pointy, and it will hurt, but it's not meant to kill. It is only meant to stun. And spotted eagle rays, which I find really cool, they can actually grow up to 4 barbs on their tail. It's where the tail and the body meet. All of ours only have 2. It's just like how I was born with, or I was able to make all of my wisdom teeth, but not everybody is. It just depends on what your genetics let you to do. So our spotted eagle rays can only grow up to 2 barbs, but some of them have been reported at having 4 barbs on their body, which is a lot. And that's really good if you use one, then you have a backup. But it's really a waste to use it on something that is not a need. If you feel like you need to get out of a dangerous situation, then they might use it. But otherwise, they'll just swim. Stingrays, as you can see here, they are so good at swimming. They can swim easily through the water. They have a mucus coating on their body, which glides them through the water. And they're also really fast swimmers. And if you ever get a chance to touch a spotted eagle ray, make sure you touch their fins because their wings are so powerful. They can move themselves so quickly. Here, they're pretty lazy because no predators. But every so often, they start swimming real fast because they get spooked. And really, they can fly through the water. They really are the birds of the sea. They're so beautiful. All right, I am ready for questions if you have any questions for me.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Danielle. I learned myself about wingspan, how you guys train the feet. I've seen the past 2 jumping out of the water with the feet. So we're going to open up the floor to questions. So 1 or 2 questions per class. Fire through, starting with Ms. Reeves. If you'd like to ask a question, you can send them up front. That's nice and loud.
Okay. Where what stingrays in our environment? Here, Debbie, can you read yours? What is your oldest stingray?
Oh, that's a great question. What is our oldest stingray? Well, our oldest stingray is not the spotted eagle rays. As I mentioned before, the oldest one is 6 or 7 years old, and they can live much longer than that. Our oldest stingray is one of our rescues. He is approximately 26-ish years old. He's a rough-tailed stingray. Remember that stingray that jumped earlier? That one. He was rescued from a power plant, a water treatment plant in Florida area when he was really young, and we estimated he was around 4 years old when that happened. Our aquarium was not built then. That was quite a while ago, and our aquarium's only 4 years old. He actually used to be in our previous head of husbandry's exhibit, so he just traveled with our previous head of husbandry's jobs as he went through his career. And because he's just a little bit too old to transport anymore, he has lived here to live out his days. So he's pretty old for a rough-tailed stingray, but we give him a lot of love here, and hopefully he will live much longer than his expected lifespan. So he's around 26. And that's pretty old for stingrays.
Awesome, great question. Thanks for that answer, Dan. Awesome, Mr. Reeves. We're going to move on. Hopefully we can come back to you guys with one more question again, but we're just going to try to get move on to the next class. You guys have a question for Andrew?
He will making that noise is not going to help.
Miss Wellex?
Oh, Anna. Do you remember your question? Talking to you.
How many spotted eagle rays are left in the wild?
Oh, that's a really good question. The answer is we don't know. So how many spotted eagle rays are left in the wild? It's a really tough question. We don't really know if they're all one species, so it's hard to count. However, one of the greatest things about technology is that we can have citizen scientists. And that might be a new word for you, but that means that anybody going out into the ocean that sees one of these animals can take a picture of them, send in the picture, and then we can get a more accurate number of how many there are. We can learn more about them because their spots are all different. I'd say there probably isn't more than 1,000 out there in the wild. But that really just depends, and the numbers are always changing because they're always having babies. They don't live forever, so they might be passing away, but we would love to learn more, so that hopefully if you become scientists in the future or avid adventurers in the ocean, then you can when you're older.
Great question from Miss Wellex class. Thanks very much. You were saying, Danielle, that we can use spots to identify. We're going to move on to Mr. Bartnick's class. I'm going to ask it nice and loud.
Okay, nice and loud. Why are all these species in one little pond? Yeah.
I didn't quite catch that one.
Why all the stingrays of different species are in the one enclosure?
Did you catch that, Danielle? So from Mr. Bartnick's class, why are all these different ray species in one tank?
Oh, why are all the different species of rays in one tank? And the easy answer for that is they actually all get along. Rays are not predators to other rays, so they usually are pretty comfortable with each other. So ours are pretty awesome at being in a group together, and stingrays actually live in schools in the wild. The school of stingray is called a fever, and some of the stingrays live in schools. So all of the eagle rays usually do, so that's the cow-nose rays are a type of eagle ray, spotted eagle rays are also a type of eagle ray, and they like to live in groups. Helps them with hunting, finding a mate. However, they are really comfortable with being with each other, even the ones that normally live solitary lives. And it makes it way easier for us to feed them if they're all in one area.
Awesome. Great question from Mr. Bartnick's class. So we're going to move on to Miss Furnival's class. Ms. Furnival, if you guys have a question, you can come right on up.
All right, go ahead. What animal eats stingrays? Can they eat their stinger?
Oh, that's a good question. So what animal eats stingrays, and can they eat their stinger? Well, the main animal that likes to eat stingrays are sharks. You probably guessed that. The hammerhead shark is specialized in eating stingrays because of their hammer shape to their head. That's one of the many reasons they have that weird shaped head, is to pin stingrays to the ground. However, the barb on an animal, on a stingray, is not an easy thing to eat. One, it's made of vasodentin, which is very similar to what our teeth are made of. And that is not something that most animals can digest naturally. It's just like if you were to eat the bones of eat an animal, you don't eat their bones. You usually just spit those parts out. Stingrays are, they have their barb. Most animals won't eat that. They'll avoid touching that part. And because their tails are just so skinny and there's not much on them, most animals won't even eat that part. So they'll just eat the meaty center parts. But stingrays are very flexible, so most often if a stingray is eaten by a predator, that predator got a couple of jabs of the barb in the face before they were eaten.
Awesome, thanks for that answer. Great question. And so we're going to move on to Miss Bendo's class, if you guys have a question.
How fast can a stingray swim?
How fast can a stingray swim? Well, it's hard for me to say because I'm not so good with the speeds of the animals. However, they can swim pretty fast. They can definitely swim faster than we can run. It's just because of the way that their bodies are streamlined. They can definitely swim faster than we can swim. Even Michael Phelps, they can swim faster than he can swim. However, they're not, like, they will run out of steam at some point, just like us. But they can swim for longer distances than we can, mainly because they do breathe oxygen from the water, so they're more comfortable with that medium. And their bodies are meant for swimming. Ours are not as much meant for swimming. So we're not as streamlined underwater as they are.
Great question. Good one to answer. So we're going to move on to Miss Novak's class. Novak, if you guys have a question.
Where do they live?
Where do spotted eagle rays live? They actually live usually in the more tropical areas. So ours are from the Florida area. However, they are found mostly in the Atlantic Ocean, but I think they're also found in the Pacific, in the warmer waters. So they don't like the cold. Most stingrays are not in the cold area. If you see an animal that looks like a stingray in a cold area, it's probably a skate.
So we might have time for one or two more questions. I'm going to go back to the first group, this breed class. If you guys have any closing questions? Maybe just raise your hand. Breed class, if you have any last question. Yeah, go ahead.
How can they see?
I couldn't hear that one.
How can they see?
How do they see?
Yes.
So stingrays, they don't see in color like us. However, other than that, their vision is the same. And they can obviously see better underwater than we can. But they see quite as well as we can. And that's pretty good considering they have an extra sense, which can sense food moving underneath the sand. And they can also sense the smell of the food that they're trying to eat, or smell of other animals really well, which is much better than we can. This type of animal doesn't always get the chance to see their food, so if they can sense it in another way, that is excellent, so they can dig it up.
Awesome, thanks for that question, guys. Miss Malek's class, do you guys have any last questions you're burning to ask?
Yeah. How about Elliot?
Go ahead.
Why do you call them the spotted eagle ray?
Why do they get the name spotted eagle ray? Well, because they're spotted and they look like an eagle and they soar like an eagle. So that's how they got the name spotted eagle ray. The cow nose ray has a funnier story. It's because their face looks like a cow's nose and they are a type of ray. So all of the animals that we have here have pretty typical names for either where they are or what they look like. And somebody a long time ago came up with it and the name just stuck. So we have spotted eagle ray just because they kind of look like an eagle and they have that snout.
we're gonna rip through the rest of the class, the marketing class. If you guys have any closing comments about that. Anything? No? Okay, we're gonna move on. Just for time's sake. Burn go class. You guys have any last one?
Okay, come on up. Yep, we have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. How long is a stingray's tail?
Oh, how long is this stingray's tail? And that really depends on if it was bitten off before it came here. So like this one here, that one's a little bit shorter than it should be. So the spotted eagle rays have the longest tail, and their tail can be, I think it's around 6 meters. Yeah, so they can get really, really long tails. Most often, stingrays don't have really long tails because some other animal bit it off and it doesn't continue to grow. But our southern stingrays, their tail is pretty much the same length as their body as well, unless it has been bitten off. This cow nose right here doesn't even have a full tail. That one could be longer, but it's so small, so a lot of animals mistake it for food, or they're trying to catch the stingray and they end up biting the tail. And that's not exclusive to other predators. That's happened here because the spotted eagle rays like to be the ones with the longest tails. So they went through and shortened a lot of the cow nose rays' tails when they first got here. But the most stingrays don't need their tail for anything other than housing their barb. So they will probably not require a full length tail.
Cool, lots of variation. So Ms. Bendo's class, if you guys have any burning questions.
Why is the girl stingray bigger than the boy stingray?
Oh, why is the girl stingray bigger than the boy stingray? Well, right now it's because the girl's older, but also girls are most often larger than boys in stingrays.
Awesome, great question. And last but not least, Ms. Novak's class, if you have a last question you'd like to ask, right ahead.
Why do spotted stingrays stay on top of the water and regular stingrays stay on the bottom?
Spotted eagle rays are more comfortable with being closer to the surface than most other stingrays. And that's because they're jumpers. And also Andrew might have he could also lift the target up a little bit more when he's in the water, so the stingrays come a little bit closer to the surface than the other stingrays do. But even the small little ones, every so often we see them swim really fast and it's like they're flapping on top of the water.
Awesome. Great questions from all our classes. And I hate to wrap it up, but we're going to thank one last time Danielle and Andrew for joining us from Ripley's. And as is beginning with Exploring by the Sea, I'm going to unmute all the classroom mics. I want everyone to get up and make as much noise as they can on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Amazing.
Yes, thank you for having us. We had a lot of fun.
I love all the enthusiasm. Thanks so much, guys, and take care.